I'm checking this plastic squeegee for burrs. They don't often have them, but I've run into a situation where it does damage the plate, so I'm just making sure that it hasn't picked up anything that's going to damage the plate. And what I want to do is pick up a little bit of ink, put the squeegee horizontally against the plate and tap it a little bit, and just smear the ink across the plate. Put as much ink on as possible. Now there's kind of a combination of moves that are hard to explain, but you just get better at it with time. Part of it is tapping the ink off the squeegee and then putting the squeegee at like a 45-degree angle and drawing it across the plate. You know, and I'm pressing down a little bit, not super hard. I'm just kind of flooding the plate. Now notice I'm going all in one direction. What you want to do is change directions. Go from various angles on the plate, spreading the ink all over. Okay, so you're just carding the ink, or that's what they used to call it, because this used to be a piece of card, but now with plastic you can use a plastic squeegee. Okay, now there's a ton of ink on this thing, and you have to get some of it off. And the idea is what prints is down in the recesses, and what we want to get off the plate is we want to wipe the surface of the plate clean. So holding the squeegee perfectly perpendicular to the surface of the plate, I'm going to push down, but really it's only pushing down with like the weight of my forearms, and scrape across the plate and pick up ink and redeposit it back on the palette. Repeat that. Across the plate. Now this is a skill that takes a lot of time to learn or to get good at. So your first few plates are not going to be that great. And it's going to be messy because ink is going to go off the edge here. And one trick is if you start kind of hanging halfway off the edge, and as you draw down you move slowly in, that's going to pull some of that ink away from the edge. And there's only so much you can do there, but that's just... Okay, if you're not pulling up any more ink, you're done with the squeegee. It's time to shift to the tarlatan. Now remember this tarlatan? Nice smooth surface, nice flat smooth surface. Just with the weight of your hand, you're not pushing down, just the weight of your hand and your forearm, naturally resting. You're going to work this in a circular motion, gently across the plate. And at first it doesn't really seem like it's doing anything except spreading out the ink, but you have to trust that it is picking up ink. And by my doing this, I'm getting rid of some of the excess ink, but more important than that is I'm making sure that the surface of the tarlatan is flat and smooth. And I wipe back and forth across the entire plate. I go from off the plate across to off the plate. Now, that's one of the major reasons for beveling the edges of the plate. If I didn't use the file and sandpaper on this plate, what I'm doing right now is every time I hit a corner and come back, it would rip the tarlatan. Okay, I can see the image emerging. And I keep going until the white areas are pretty clean. So this has a nice clean edge, which is going to print white, so that's a really easy way to gauge it. A lot of people don't leave this extra border. They'll trim the plate right up to the edge of the image, so you have to find the white point in the image. In this image, it's going to be this little window here. Now I'm not going to be able to get it pure white, but I can get it pretty close down to just a light plate tone, just a little bit of residual ink, okay? And then when it's wiped like that, the next step is to use a clean piece of paper from an old phone book. What I like to do is I like to focus on the edges first. I'll work all the way around. I'm pressing with just one finger. Let me do it from the other side. I'm just cleaning that corner that I beveled. Okay, and a little bit of this white area on the plate that's outside the image area. And what that's going to do is give me somewhat of a reference point to see how clean I can get this. And the first time you do this to a plate, there's going to be some residual plate tone. And then when I'm ready to address the entire surface, the entire image, I put the piece of paper down from the phone book and lay my hand down, and the idea is I'm using this part of my hand, sometimes this part, but mostly this part of my hand, and I'm keeping my hand flat. I don't want anything to dip into those recesses and pull ink out of an area that I want to print. I'm only trying to wipe the surface clean. And you turn it over for a clean spot. Actually, you can see the ink that's coming up. And when this area is totally clean around the border and this white point is totally clean, you're probably ready to go and print. I'm going to take a clean piece of paper and just do a really, really light and yeah, it didn't pick up much ink, so we're ready to go. This is where each print becomes a little different, and every printer has a different approach to finishing. Some people use just the edge, the dry edge of their hand. The edges of my hand actually are rougher than this paper, so I use the paper. Now you remember sanding the edges and filing the edges? Well, we filed all 4 edges and I only sand one edge. So I take an old piece of t-shirt, I pinch the edge to clean it, and see I'm picking up ink. A clean spot, picking up some ink. Okay, we've gone all the way around, and now this plate is ready to be printed on the etching press. Make sure the surface is clean. Place the plate in the middle. We have this nice registration grid here. Different people use different systems. Okay. After the paper has soaked in water for 30 minutes, for at least 30 minutes, and no more than an hour and a half, it is ready to come out of the water and be prepared for printing. So I grab it by the corner, pull it out of the water, and let the excess water drip off. I'm going to wait until the drips are between 1 and 2 seconds apart, and then I'm going to move over to the blotter paper. What I'm using for blotter paper in this demonstration is newsprint, just because it is not very expensive, it's pretty cheap. It's really better to use cotton blotter paper. So what I'm doing is getting rid of excess surface water, the standing puddles, letting the newsprint absorb that. And I'm pressing pretty hard. And I usually have to do this twice, sometimes 3 times, until there's no standing surface water, and then the paper is damp. It's not soaking wet, but it's damp, and it's cool to the touch. And when I take my fingers off it, my fingers don't feel wet. So this is ready to go. Let's print. Here I have the printmaking paper, and the back is going to face up, and the front is going to go against the plate to receive the ink. I have this registration grid, so I'm going to line up one edge of the paper with one of the straight edges on the registration grid, and then slowly let the paper drop on top of the plate. I'm placing an extra piece of printmaking paper, dry. This acts as a 4th blanket, because this is the same consistency and grain as the paper we intend to print on. So none of the grain or imperfections on the blankets are going to show through, the small ones. If there are big imperfections in the blanket, that's going to go through. So we're going to pull all 3 blankets over, the catcher, the cushion, and the pusher. You can bring all these over all at once. I just wanted you to see the 3 different blankets. And by my running my hand over, there is some deformation. That's fine. I'm just checking for big folds. If something was folded like this, I want to correct it. You want to make sure that your pressure setting is right and that the numbers match. And if they're on the setting that you want, then you're ready to slowly crank the print through. You want to go at a medium pace, and key really is not super fast, not super slow, but is to not stop. You want to keep going like you're part of the machine. And when you've passed the print through, you remove the 3 blankets, remove the extra piece of printmaking paper, and take your fingernail and pick up your print. And here you have your print. And after you've printed your print, come over to the drying rack and place it in the rack to dry. It needs about a week of drying time before you can stack it safely.